I'm Luke Storey. For the past 22 years, I've been relentlessly committed to my deepest passion, designing the ultimate lifestyle based on the most powerful principles of spirituality, health, psychology, and personal development. The Lifestylist Podcast is a show dedicated to sharing my discoveries and the experts behind them with you. Andy Hnilo, here we go.
Here we go.
Round two. I wonder how long ago that was when we did our first podcast together.
I'm just guessing, but I want to say like 2017 or 18.
Yeah, it was early on.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming up on 8 years doing the show. I think June, probably around the time this comes out will be the 8-year mark.
Wow.
And you were one of the earlier guests. Yeah, I remember, I think I heard you on Bulletproof Radio and figured out you were in LA. And I think I hit you up on Twitter and we went to Erewhon and we're just geeking out on eating oysters and raw liver. You were making like raw liver smoothies. And I was like, kindred spirit, man. Someone who's as weird about all this shit as I am. And then you'd come up to the house when I lived in the Hollywood Hills by the Hollywood Bowl. And I was growing, I don't know if you remember this, I was growing these insane aloe vera plants, like in those wine barrels, like wine barrel cut in half.
Or misdusted.
Yeah, like doing all this crazy shit. And then eventually I started putting like seawater in them. And I think I killed them because I didn't dilute it enough. But I used to go out to Malibu with like a big water jug and go out into the water and like fill it up and come home and water all my plants, trying to get the marine minerals into them. And I think that was the end of those beautiful giant aloe vera plants.
They were so thick though too.
They're big dogs. Yeah.
Cutting a huge, bunch of those and then put them in the back and they have that orange ooze and it started to stain the trunk of my car. But the things we'll do for health. I mean, it's so funny you mentioned that because I used to do the exact same thing. I'd fill up Crystal Geyser gallons full of the Santa Monica ocean water and put it in my hair because it added thickness and texture to my hair. And I'd add that seawater to my hair every morning.
That's funny. I used to do that too. I forgot about that.
Dude,
I put it in a spray bottle.
Exactly.
Yeah, because when you get out of the ocean, it's like you just let your hair dry wild. It's always awesome, you know?
Yeah.
I think women have a thing for that. It's like beach dew or beach hair or something. Like it's a known thing.
Yeah.
I think fewer guys know about it. So we'll link to your past episode where we go more deeply into your story because I just want to catch up to real time.
Yeah.
And we'll put everything we talk about here today, guys, at lukestory.com/Andy, A-N-D-Y. So you're living in Sedona now. What's up with that?
Oh, man. Living in Sedona. It's interesting. 2011, 10-ish, right around my accident, when I was first throwing things together, is when Sedona first came into my mind. Just right after the accident. It's so interesting that exactly 11 years after that, I got sober from alcohol, which is another thing, but also just moved to an area that was calling me. When I was making the clay mask, I wanted to have something sacred to me, special to me, to have my products manufactured out of. And the first place I looked was Sedona, but finding co-packers for, skincare products and personal care products in Sedona, I still think there aren't any, but we could be the first.
It's hard to find internet in Sedona.
Yes.
Which I learned from living there for a couple months.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's more remote than it seems. Like once you get there and spend some time, you realize, this is a really small town.
Yes.
There's a lot of tourists and stuff like that, but amenities and manufacturing skincare products, I'm sure could be challenging.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was just these little signs just kept popping up. Sedona, I didn't know too much about it. And I didn't know too much about the spiritual and sacred element of it. I had heard that it was a destination I always wanted to go. And I would visit from time to time and took my staff on a 2020 retreat to Sedona. At this point, we were all remote. And people flew into Arizona, and then we drove up to Sedona and had a really nice trip there. During the pandemic, something happened there where we went on a UFO tour. I met a couple of nice guides there that I stayed in touch with, and I just had a little bit of a spiritual moment with one of the instructors that saw something in me and shared that with me, in front of my team, and it really we stayed in touch. It was a very special moment that kinda got me just opened up my mind to certain things that were happening to me and that I was experiencing spiritually, and it had an impact, and it was in my head, this was 2020. And then a couple years later, I would go out. I'd drive 3 or 4 hours from Vegas to Sedona just to clear my head, and, I went there in September, climbed Bell Rock, scaled that. It started to drizzle at the top of Bell Rock. I'm really big into ancient civilization, and Freddie Silva specifically is, I'm a huge fan of him. Freddie Silva just knows so much about the different sacred spots all around the world, and I've become fascinated with visiting them, but Bell Rock being one of them. And at the top of Bell Rock, it just started to drizzle, and it was extremely difficult to make it up there. And it was a little frightening scaling my way down with raindrops and just making it to my hotel, messing around on Zillow that night. I scheduled a meeting for a home that Sunday, and then saw a place, fell in love, walked in maybe 10 seconds and said, "No, this is mine," and put in an offer Monday and accepted Tuesday. And then just like that, mid-September is the whole
Wow.
well, early September, is the whole process of buying a home. I had no intention to buy a home, just something came over me. And then once I finally got to Sedona and moved in, Luke, I can't even tell you just the magic that I feel daily living across from Thunder Mountain and just absorbing, listening to the spirits around me. And it's just a full on.
I mean, thinking about the contrast between Sedona and Las Vegas too, just the vibe, the energy of it, right? I mean, both desert, similar kind of topography,
Yeah.
dry, arid desert vibes, but I mean, the energetics of it, Sedona's powerful. We attempt, as I was telling you earlier, we gave it a trial run to see if we could live there, and Alice and I both were just it was too intense for, like, a full-time thing, but then the people that end up there, like you, are just like, "Boom, this is my home, this is my spot," and you feel grounded there. Like, the people that live there are like, "Oh, it's really grounding." For me, I was just like, "Ah," my nervous system couldn't hang. I was
Yeah.
like, "I'm not ready to graduate to the Sedona level yet,"
Yeah.
It was intense, but it's so beautiful, and there's so many interesting people there, and then I mean, the nature there is just insane. It's just
Yeah.
there's no place like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanna get into a bit of your journey over the past couple years, and then even though we went deep into your, origin story, and why you got into skincare and all this stuff in the first episode, we'll touch on that, but I wanna just bring something to light here, especially for people that follow you on social media and aware of you and your brand, Alitura and stuff. It was maybe a couple maybe it wasn't even a couple years ago, maybe a year ago or something. We started talking about doing this episode, doing another round, and, we're putting it together. And I started seeing posts of yours on your Instagram where you were acting super fucking wild. And then a few times people DM'd me and were like, "Hey, you're a friend of Andy's. We're concerned about him," and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And myself being someone who had a long history of drug and alcohol abuse and addiction, that's what it looked like to me. And so I was in this weird position of like, we're supposed to be booking this podcast. I've agreed to do it. And then thinking, I don't know if this would be of the highest good for Andy if he is struggling like he appears to be.
Mhm.
And I didn't know exactly what was going on. And I followed my intuition. And you know that I'm a sober guy. And I hope you know if you needed help, you could always call. But I'm
Right.
just kind of a live and let live dude. I don't proselytize or tell people they need to be sober or whatever. It's really none of my business until someone makes it my business.
Mhm.
But it was clear to me that you had something going on, you know?
Yeah.
And I was concerned and kinda just feeling it out and waiting to see where it went, and then I started seeing you do posts where you looked like your old self again, and maybe even better, happy, the light in your eyes came back, you're
Mhm.
making sense, you're cognizant. Um, what happened? And where you at now? I mean, to whatever
Yeah.
degree you wanna get into
Absolutely.
it.
No, I'm completely transparent with, that situation that I it was a crisis for sure. Just the combination of, you know, working long hours, onboarding team after team after team. I mean, last year I onboarded 7 different teams, and that's, my personal assistant on Alitura left, so I was literally the only employee left working with contractors and onboarding and, trying to teach the system to, 7 new teams over, and trying to bring people in and cover customer service and, really just bringing in a whole new set of people every month or 2 became stressful. That, in combination with traveling to different conferences and maintaining my responsibilities as the owner of Alitura, combined with substance. I was drinking a lot. I would use that to medicate and kinda as a stress reliever, and then know that I would work it out, sweat it out, and then just get back to work. But that was just becoming a cycle for me that was counterproductive, led to a chemical imbalance, being extremely irritable with the people that I love. And it probably, looking back retroactively, I wasn't the best leader by any means. Luke, I really needed that to happen to me. It had been weighing on me because my messaging wasn't congruent with what I am so passionate about as well, which is health and wellness. And then it just would eat away at me that, the spending the weekends out and I'm like, just that whatever it is, if something's kind of needling at you and eating away, you need to pinpoint it and mitigate it and just get it out of the system. But that's one of those things where I just thought that I had it under control and that I could, deal with work. And look, I'm building a business. I mean, ego came into that, but I just really towards that the end of September finally had a my last relapse. I went to a treatment facility in July. That went well. Systematically, like I just had my days planned, counseling, good meals, got back physically, thought I had it, man, came back, didn't stay on my aftercare, was still stressed and just still kind of angry and irritable at the situation, just felt misunderstood the whole time, man. That was just, I had gone to Cairo, Egypt, a month or 2 months before that. I got down on my knees outside of Saqqara Temple, and just begged to just release whatever type of, hold substance had on me and to remove the deceptive and, manipulative people from my life. And from that point, I literally started physically feeling, just a transformation that was scary. It was a lot. It was almost like a warning about of what I was about to go through. Um, and that's a scary feeling, not knowing like, what is this? What's this dread, about something that's, like kind of like a premonition of series of events that ended up happening. And I had to pay the consequences, like to the lowest, you know, low that I've ever experienced in my entire life, including the accident. Accident had nothing, pain, mentally nothing compared to the agony and just self disappointment that I had for letting people down. And finally, after a series of events, getting to Sedona, I was able to breathe better. I was able to, I mean, I still had a physical dependency on alcohol, which is amazing to me. But finally, just locking in, December 25th, 2022, is when I became sober. I'm actually sober 5 months today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right on. Right
Thank
on.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
I know from experience, dude, the first and it's one of those things that really I think unless you no matter how well-meaning people are, unless you've been in that position yourself, there's just no way that you can understand it. Because from the outside, you look at someone who's having issues with addiction and you just go, "Why don't you stop? Just stop." Willpower, right? 'Cause
Mhm.
some people have that, and some of us have it to a lesser degree. I know that was always true in my case, but the first initial days are brutal. I mean, my first
Yeah.
28 days, I was in a treatment center, thank God. The first one stuck. I was just so beat down. I was literally just willing to do anything. So there was no resistance left in me, at that point. There's a lot of people relapse because they come in, they're like, "Oh, I hit a rough batch. Yeah, I'll go to this rehab, go to a few meetings, but I'm gonna do my own thing." The ego is, like, still in place, you know?
Mhm.
I think mine was just so annihilated, but, dude, I remember coming out of there after the 28 days, I mean, just, functioning, at all as an adult was totally impossible. I mean, I had so much, like, emotional upheaval and just my mind was all over the place. I mean, I just felt crazy, and that went on for quite some time. I remember just the terror, dude, of I'm 26 years old, I get out of rehab. I got no job, no friends, knew I had a little shitty apartment in Hollywood, but I knew I had to get rid of it because it was, like, just infested with drug people, and it was just the gnarliest memories of, using there.
Mhm.
So I come out and I have nothing. It's like, dude, every few hours is terrifying. Just, it's getting dark. What am I gonna do with myself? So for me, just going to meetings nonstop was just there was no choice because I would have gone insane and I would have used. So I say all that to say, congratulations. And when you become addicted to alcohol or drugs, man, it's like getting clean is not for the faint at heart.
Mm-mm.
It's fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
You know? It's gnarly, and even, like, a month, 2 months, 3 5 months, a year, a couple of years, I mean, I look at anyone that's, like, in the first stages of that, and it's like, man, hats off, congratulations, 'cause the amount of courage it takes to let that stuff go and just face life and reality
Mhm.
as it lands is it's tough, man. It's tough when you don't have that anesthesia to kind of dull the sharp edges of life, you know?
Right. No,
Yeah.
that's a good analogy.
Um, what was it like I'm thinking back to my own experience, which was decades pre-social media, but in my life as an addict, there was so much guilt and shame that I held because I knew that I was not supposed to be living that way. And then I would kinda get caught by my friends who all did drugs and drank too, but I was always kind of the worst one.
Mhm.
So there's always this hiding and sneaking around and lying and stuff like that. But only my immediate friends and family were aware of my problems. You were going on, Instagram lives totally fucked up and just going off. What was it like to wake up the next day and be like, "Oh my god, what did I post?" I mean, did you feel embarrassed or ashamed after you got sober when those things would happen? Were friends and family seeing that and, trying to intervene in your life? Like, you did this kind of spiraling so publicly. I think that's the interest for me in the question is just like,
Yeah.
what was that like to be out there that you were, and then thousands of people are seeing you kind of
Yeah.
tailspin?
I hurt more for my family and friends that were embarrassed, you know? Um, I was howling at the moon. I mean, I had a lot to say. I was expressing myself not in the best way by any means. I just had a lot going on with and a lot of disappointment I felt with just being misunderstood from authorities, police, security guards, things like that. I was just really just spiraling going through it and also very, very just angry from the resentment from certain betrayals and things like that that happened. And by no means is it an excuse. I needed to get that type of quote unquote embarrassment, that level of, with the stuff that I have on the line with having the company. I'm just a really honest person though too. I don't want to hide anything and I didn't I really a small part of me felt like it could help somebody. I'm being real. I'm being authentic here, and
Oh,
that's where
definitely,
yeah, I mean,
definitely. I'll
sure I'm
I'll give
having
you that.
yeah, yeah, I
You're on IG Live just going off, dude.
well, yeah, I
Yeah. And no judgment here, like, it's a curiosity to me as I was watching that. I'm like, "I wonder where this is gonna go." Obviously, I hope you're alright, you're a great guy, you're doing, incredible things in the world, you're a person of service, you have a great company, you've been through a lot of shit already, but I'm just like, "Man, this is getting interesting." And then, 'cause we were texting here and there, but it was like I would see one of those posts, and then I think it would be deleted, and then I'd see you again, and you were kind of making more sense. All right, cool. He got it together, and then it would kind of go out again. I was like, oh shit, man.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm glad it happened. I needed to get broken down, man,
yeah,
like everything, just and also, I I felt like hiding some of that was lying, to my, following and definitely my customers and people that trust me, that look for me for health advice, and I really felt like and even explaining that, I would have that where I'm passionately talking about certain dietary, things that I do or workouts, and, it would be there while I'm saying it, and like, "Yeah, dude, I'd like to have a good time with substance a lot more than, a lot of people. It's something that I needed to remove from my life in order to
yeah,
propel me forward and get to, reach those heights without that guilt and without that shame of just like going, "Yeah, I'm allowed to have a private life." I mean, that there's some of that, but at the same time, it was messing. It was just my soul it wasn't was telling me to just be completely honest with this and just share everything, and there is a component of it helping others, which really does mean a lot to me, and that's why I want to just be transparent with this. At the
yeah,
same time, I needed to talk to someone. I got a lot of love from those from sharing my ridiculousness, but a lot of people cared, like yourself, and that love and that just being there for me without judgment really helped me get back on track. And then finally sitting with it, which just solo by myself, listening to flute music and different frequency music, just getting back and just sitting with it. A lot of prayer.
yeah. That's the key. Like you mentioned that in Egypt,
Mhm.
and for someone who's not had a positive or meaningful relationship with the practice of prayer, I can see how it would look like almost silly, which is how I always thought of it until I was desperate enough and I had no other choice.
Mhm.
I mean, what else are you gonna do when you can't help yourself? It's like, even though I didn't believe in God, I would still pray, and lo and behold, I was struck sober. All these years later, 20, almost 26 and a half, almost, yeah, 26 years later in a few months,
Wow.
I'm still in awe that those prayers that I uttered in 1997, kneeling on the floor in a rehab, that they worked. It's like, what is that?
Mhm.
What happened? Because I didn't do it.
Mhm.
I tried to get sober on my own a bunch of times. I would make it about an hour. It's just, there's no way I could ever make it one day. Not even negotiable. Impossible. And then all of a sudden, I'm like walking by the liquor store and I don't go in. I'm driving down the street where I used to go buy drugs in downtown LA. I had this job where I was delivering food for a restaurant, and they would send me down 6th Street toward downtown LA, which was like the hot spot for heroin dealers on the street there. And I mean, I spent a lot of desperate moments around that corner. And I'd be driving that delivery truck and I had cash in my pocket because I've been getting paid to deliver the food. And I would be shocked that the car would keep going straight. I'd be like, who's steering the van? Why am I not? They're right there. I see the guys. You can spot them. I know who's got it.
Wow.
All I got to do is go little quick whistle, quick glance, and the car is gonna be surrounded by dealers spitting balloons of heroin in their hand? I mean, literally.
Wow.
And I knew that it was that prayer, and I just kept doing it, even though I didn't really believe in it. It's incredible. That's the crux of it, is that you have, like, this physical, emotional, and mental illness of addiction, So it seems like the way to get over it is to address it that way. But on a deeper level, it's a spiritual problem, you know? It's a
Mhm.
disconnection from your higher self, right? And a disconnection from God, or one that you never had that connection. But I love that you brought in the prayer, and that your higher self is going, Andy, what are you doing, bro? I mean, I don't know if your higher self talks to you like that, but whatever that version is, where there's like a part of you that knows you're better than this,
Yes.
a part of you that knows your life has more value than this, that you have a contribution to make, that you're worthy of actually being a whole person,
Mhm.
you know? And it's just that tiny little mustard seed of a voice. That's what it was for me. It was so faint. I mean, it was like a transistor radio in the dugout of an empty baseball stadium, you know? I know
Mhm.
you like baseball. I don't know why that analogy comes in. Maybe because you do. You know, it's just like you just hear this just this slight little whisper or murmur that's like, "You don't have to live like this. There's a way out. I don't know what the fuck it is, but there's a part of me that's going, 'Ah, get me out of this.'" So, you know, I don't wanna steal the show from you, but that's just my, my acknowledgement of you, and, my gratitude for you having, that part of yourself that was like, "Nope, I'm done." So my question is this:
Thank you.
was it difficult? I don't know what else you were up to, but you've talked about alcohol. So if you're addicted to alcohol, was it difficult to concede to yourself that you were powerless over alcohol, that you and all your willpower wasn't enough to just stop it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What was that like?
That was that was tough because I didn't want to admit it. Powerless, that word. Um, yeah, and clearly that's a lot of, ego involvement right there. I 100% came to terms with that early December when I just realized I was powerless against alcohol, you know? I mean, because you go back to those times where like, yeah, I could shut it down, 1 or 2 drinks or whatever. You've done that like a couple dozen times in my life, as opposed to the other side, which leads into just nonstop. Um, just being completely honest with yourself and then really, facing consequences. Um, and then on top of just the internal agony, the past like quarter of 2022, it was just tossing and turning all night. It became so much. I was so just delicate with facing the consequences. And then it was just like, you just take that step and just face everything. I mean, last year was tough, but just taking that step towards facing the consequences the right way and just putting in the work like full on militant every day, um, getting back in the gym, working your way. I mean, but just having a structured routine around sobriety, not just around health and wellness, but how important my aftercare is, outpatient, my meetings, my prayer, my routine, but just deep, honest, not just to do it, but deep gratitude for what is happening around me that is really hard for me to explain and put into words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just to add to what you said from the spiritual aspect, and then for me, looking back to as far as I can remember when I was 11 years old, just really praying for health and happiness of my friends, my family, my loved ones back then. Just parking my bike in front of I would go to this little 7 o'clock mass, and I just need to get back to that because I mean I was still obviously am um, very spiritual my entire life. So getting back into that, like you said, it's interesting that it's no longer that I don't get those little butterflies when I think about certain things with alcohol or if I see it. I went to a concert specifically in Athens that I know I probably would have been partaking. I just want to challenge myself to know that I can be, well, basically put myself in uncomfortable situations that, knowing that I can overcome that. And I did. That was good because you want to know that you can still have a good time without it. And everything on that trip, I went to Jordan, Petra, the Dead Sea, and then Santorini in Italy, just to see these beautiful ruins and these sacred places all around. That's really my new thing that I want to spend, my vacations, want to learn as much as I can, absorb as much as I can from the different cultures all around the world. That's just basically what my new thing is in this chapter of sobriety for me. Just
Right
learning
on.
as much as I can about just ancient civilization because I strongly believe that just in doing that and paying respects to past, the higher power, my higher power, but also just the gods that have just created so much for us. Number one, it's extremely interested in it, but I mean, just the gifts and just the signs and the shifting and the natural elements that are starting to like callous in me and against using and or temptation and having just that past. I can look back at that now. Interesting. Like it was just 6 months ago, but I am so grateful just to be able to come out on the other side, and experience something that I was like, man, I thought I'd be giving something up. Do you know how beautiful every day is without that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Waking up on
I know.
vacations
Yeah.
sober and then fired up to go on a hike and see things that really overwhelm me spirit like goose like I'm getting chills right now, definitely not cold, like that feeling that sticks with you and then you're able to just stack those and just carry with you forever and just mold you into who you are. That just it even just saying that it's just so it makes my travels so much more fulfilling, makes my relationships that I make on my travels just so much more powerful and real. I'm so glad to be where I'm at now. And I have to tell you, man, you were a big inspiration the entire time. I remember having, shooting that first podcast with you, just going, man, this guy, how does he do it? You know what I mean? At sobriety, how do these people do it?
I know. Well, I
And
remember you came over one day when I was living in the apartment in Miracle Mile. And I don't know if you came over to talk about addiction, but I do remember having a talk with you and just sharing some of my story. And if I recall right, I think at that point you were like, "Well, I've got, had some issues with it here and there, but I'm able to manage it and kind of recreationally party here and there, but I have it under control," you know? And I
Mhm.
was like, "Hey, hats off to you, man. I have no idea what that's like," you
Mhm.
know? But I remember that, and I remember thinking, if he really has the gene, eventually, I don't wanna wish this upon anyone, but just based on my experience, eventually it might catch up to him, you know? So, yeah, it was interesting to see all those years later, it's like some of us are just wired that way, and we can't dabble. Eventually, the dabbling becomes a full-time job, and then it
Yeah.
just eclipses everything else in your life. It's a tragic thing, so congratulations on making it out. You talked about, and I wanna get into some other stuff, but this is just such a
Yeah.
close to my heart topic, so I appreciate your vulnerability, I
Absolutely.
don't think anyone really enjoys being transparent about their struggles, but it does help other people.
Mhm.
There's gonna be someone listening to this that's like, "Damn, I think I'm an alcoholic." You know? And they're gonna maybe do something about it and be free like you and me. It's incredible. There's no high like reality. Reality is so fucking interesting. You don't need anything to
I
make life
know.
more fun. It's like, dude, to be present
Mhm.
is a wild ass ride,
Yeah.
the more
That's a
present
really
we
good
can be.
point.
But you mentioned, you're running this company. It's your first company. You have all these teams, this responsibility, the stress, the grind. I think many people look from the outside at an entrepreneur and think, oh, they have it made. They don't have a boss. They have their own company. They're making all this money. It's very stressful to run a company, especially if you're new at it and you're an innovator like you are. Aside from that stress, though, in like day to day life, have you uncovered any deeper layers of trauma from when you were a kid or just things that would be helped by therapy or plant medicine ceremonies or anything? Like, have things come to the surface that were more than just like day-to-day life stress that you feel like you have addressed or want to address in terms of just expanding who you are?
I mean, experimenting with plant medicine and definitely sitting with ayahuasca, but like doing it, I'd like to go to Peru. I think Aubrey Marcus mentioned a couple people that I'd like to look into. I want to do it overseas and just get that full experience. Just experimented with psilocybin and DMT. That was great just to see a different dimension and what's next and just the beauty of it and how I felt the love that is inside of me and to see it's how real it is. And it was just the most impactful ceremony and experience, in like compared to combo and other things that I've done. DMT specifically was pretty, pretty impactful,
Yeah.
which is interesting because I didn't, at that point when I had tried it, I think, sobriety wasn't even, you know, a flicker of anything in the future, but it definitely did open me up into just the spirituality and what's out there. I'm so interested in just the higher powers and the cosmos and just everything that's going on energetically. That's become a very big passion of mine. But I mean, as far as um, yeah, just getting into like finding out more about myself from past traumas. I mean, I've done a lot of neurofeedback brain training. I don't know, it may be there, and I'm going to continue to, uh, you know, therapy is a luxury. I would love to, continue to just see somebody weekly. But as far as past trauma, I just really feel like alcohol was the main thing that just didn't agree with my biology.
Yeah, I asked that because, it's common that people have some underlying hurt that led to them drinking and using in excess. But
Hmm.
I also have known many people that had great family, great childhood, they weren't abused, they weren't molested, like,
Hmm.
it's more rare,
Yeah.
I find because I know a lot of sober people, but I'm always tripped out when I meet someone who's like, "No, I had a really great life. It's just when I start drinking, I can't stop." It's
That's
like,
what it is.
it's trippy. It's a bit more rare that that's the case, but I do know people like that. I've met many people like that, that are like, I'm actually a pretty happy person. I got a great family. It's just that devil juice, man. If I get into it, it takes over, So anyway,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
get into, and thanks again for sharing that. And when you first came on the show, and we'll link to that again at lukestory.com/Andy for those that want to hear the long version of the story. But I want to get into your expertise of skincare and all the shit that you know about taking care of our largest organ. But just maybe in a very brief way, share what you went through when you got hit by a couple SUVs and just got gnarled, just to give people some context for where your passion for skincare originated from.
Yeah. So I was in the entertainment industry. So I had this, and I was into skincare, but I kind of hit it. So every Sunday night, I had this pre existing clay mask. I think it was Rasul, bentonite, kelp, and vitamin C at that point. And I would just run in, mix this little mask every Sunday night before my week of auditions as an actor. Well, crossing the street March 20th, 2011, I was hit by a westbound heading vehicle, hit in the eastbound lane, run over by a Tundra, and woke up in a Cedar Sinai ICU bed with a compound fracture of my jaw, 7 broken ribs, just unrecognizable. But I knew that when I got back home, I had that clay mask, my jaw was wired shut, teeth gone. I just needed to build my system back internally. So I met with several different Chinese herbalists, George Lamoureux from Jing Herbs. I met with a couple people at Dragon Herbs, Crosby Ware, Sage Dammers, Truth Calkins, helped me put together like this tonic that had medicinal mushrooms, chaga reishi, some Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, herbs. A lot of those things that I was taking to build my system back internally and build my blood back, reduce the inflammation, just to get my zest back because I was just in a fog from the antibiotics. A lot of those things I would experiment topically into the mass that I was using just to reduce swelling, exfoliation, and kind of heal the abrasions that I had all over. But some of those ingredients that I was taking internally, I would add to the mask: pearl powder, ginseng, colostrum. I think that's it. But I was tinkering away with the formula, which is now the clay mask, by using some of the ingredients that I was ingesting
Ah, interesting.
internally. Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of things didn't work, but basically came down to particle size and also just testing and
Yeah.
on myself, use myself as my biggest science experiment, basically. But yeah, that's I had been into it, I just wanted to look like my pictures. So for auditions, being fresh for the audition, there was something about that mask that I looked forward to doing. But back then, just being an ex-athlete and a guy, you kind of I kept it to myself. But that was my pretty much where after the accident, that's where everything really started, to speed up, because I was seeing results not only from the mask, but the different things that I was experimenting with topically after the mask. And that's really where I just kind of just went, look, this is my thing. But I didn't know it was going to be my thing until, after that podcast with Dave in 2014. But those few years, in recovery, driving to different homes, people I didn't know, mixing up a clay mask, explaining why I'm putting apple cider vinegar in instead of water, and just going around that little journey. It was fun for me because I was recovering. I was seeing people that wanted to try my little clay mask, and just getting back, but also just getting back, to what I wanted to do as an actor was great. And then I troubleshooted Dave's email and got on his podcast. Very long story made short, and just the response after that was what created Alitura. A few months later, after that first podcast, we had the Alitura clay mask on his bulletproof site, and for a year, and then just basically just keeping that same attention to detail with purity of ingredients, but going creatively, adding an element to that, and not just using the same oils that really, are very commonly used, for the most part, because they're good, but find similar characteristics of those good oils, but find something that nobody's found before, That's what I was just in Greece. I found oxidized copper in the mountain. Okay. I was on a little tour. There's a little bit of a language barrier, and they're pointing out these different layers of sandstone, limestone, this red rock, which is iron content, and they point out this oxidized copper. And I'd never heard of that before. Long story made short, I think I'm going to mine that, ultraventilate it, get that down to an ingredient, combine that into the dry Dead Sea powder. I mean, this is just take it a different, level with every, part of your component of your products. Like if you have that level of creativity, it takes a lot longer. And if you had, a board and a time to get things out, timeline to get things out, and profit margins, and I don't have any of that. And so, like, you can appreciate this being a musician. It is like making an album, man. A lot of things that got cut on that, the U2, Soundgarden, Coldplay floor. Some of those songs are heat seekers that never
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah.
And that's how, man, there's nothing better than releasing a product and looking at that ingredient deck and going, dude, yeah. And just why, I like looking at people when they look at the ingredient deck. It's just, yeah, it takes a lot. It really is just, I'm looking right at what I was put on this planet to do, or at least one of them. And that's for me. I never thought that. I thought I'd be an athlete, maybe an actor or whatever. But man, I am right where I'm supposed to
I
be.
think that's one of the things that I find interesting about you is you're like a sporty, athletic dude. You're a bro. You're a bro. You're a dude. You're a dude's dude, and like you're really into skincare. It's just I've always thought that's funny,
I
but
know.
it's cool though because I think about it from not so much like the vanity and aesthetics part of it, but just the fact that our skin is our largest organ, right? And you hear that like thrown around a lot, but that's huge. That says a
Mhm.
lot. And I remember when I first found you and your stuff and started experimenting with, I mean, you were making shit in your garage when I'd get your products. They wouldn't even have a label sometimes. Like, try this thing. And I'm going, this dude's basically, which you just kind of explained, he's taking like all the best stuff I would drink in a smoothie and putting it in on the skin. There's other companies that, yeah, they use like emu oil or, they have like
Mhm.
kind of just standardized blends of stuff, and some of them are great, but, like, I noticed from the beginning you were so obsessive about the quality and kind of the rarity.
Mhm.
Anyone you could just put regular bentonite clay and you're putting the red clay, it's like everything
Mhm.
you were doing and then putting it in the Myron glass. And I remember actually back in LA, I had a source for that. I don't know if you ended up using them, but I think
Yeah.
I turned you on to a guy who makes it or sells it or something. Because I'm like, dude, you're making this stuff and you don't want to use preservatives. So you use the glass as a preservative. So all this like extra mile stuff that you were doing, I think is what got my attention because honestly, you wouldn't have to do that to still make a product that could make you money.
Mhm.
You could probably make more money if you didn't put these exotic ingredients in there because 'cause they're hella expensive. And I'm sure the timelines on production are longer because you're sourcing all these rare things. So that's kind of what turned me on to your whole methodology is I'm just going, this dude is just going next level because he has to. He can't resist making stuff as good as it can possibly be. And then
Yeah.
when I started using it, I got really spoiled and now it's like I'm out of the gold serum. This is my little collection here for those that are watching the video. And I'm out of the gold serum, which I really love. I'm out of it because I use it so much. But this one here, the night cream,
Mhm.
I wish you could transmit a smell through a microphone. Dude, but I put this on every night, mostly just I want to conserve it. So I just put it kind of around my eyes.
Mhm.
Uh, but I always want to eat it. And I realized I probably could actually just take a scoop of this and eat it. And I think that's a really important thing for people to understand, and we can go more deeply into this, is that, like, when we put something on our body, we're instantaneously putting it in our body.
Mhm.
I think that's a disconnect for people. So maybe speak to some of the things that we humans put on our bodies that we probably don't want in our bloodstream. Like, what are some of the nastiest stuff that's kind of in commercial skincare products that you wanted to avoid?
Right, see, fragrance I mean, there's a study that women leave the house with over 160 chemicals daily between I mean, when you think about it, hairspray, makeup, lipstick, who knows about the shampoo and conditioner they're using, that close to the brain, rubbing that into your scalp daily, like, it just
Right.
gives me little
Like
anxiety
hair
looking back.
dye and
Oh, yeah.
straightener and bleach and all that stuff.
It becomes a part of you though. Like what you put on top of your skin, 63% of that gets into like your respiratory biology, gets into your bloodstream. I mean, so you want to make sure that the ingredients that you're putting into and on top of your skin are as food grade or as close to Mother Nature as possible. Like it's like it does take longer. And sure, there are cheaper shortcuts that may have a speck of, some type of plant derived formula and still be EcoCert approved. It's just I mean, it's going back to just the ancient time tested elements that I mean, you look at the ancient Egyptian magic. That I think was my first follow-up to I used to use like Aztec healing clay, I think when I was 21. But I think my secondary product to that was this ancient Egyptian magic. I'm not sure if I read about it in a magazine, but seriously, back then I even just looked, it was like propolis, extra virgin olive oil, beeswax, and I think pollen and royal jelly. But just such a simple formula. That product's still there. The company's still there, and the formula is amazing. But it's interesting how seriously, without even looking, I forgot about this till recently, till I went back to Egypt last year. But the consistency of that product and my night cream are similar, and the ingredients are similar. I just wonder if it was feeding me from like my elements, like the knowledge from when I was growing up and actually using it and getting into that. My point being is ancient time tested remedies are what I want to bring back into the products, not just cutting edge, new age stuff that's been in a lab. I really want to go back and bring some of that ancient civilization, time tested alchemy into my products as much as possible. There are new, like we have, plant derived vitamin A, which we source from France in the gold serum. And that even that though, that's back to the natural element. It's just it's an organic alfalfa derived product rather than retinol. As you know, so like retinol is very popular now and it's undeniably effective, but it has harsh, sun sensitivity, side effects, and can be really irritating to the skin. I mean, I just really feel like taking it back to where, to the beginning, to the purest forms. And then I just feel like my skin responds best to that. I have very reactive skin, and just with chemicals year over year from the time I was 21, removing those chemicals and getting towards something natural. Obviously, the knowledge increased because I was seeing results, better results with the products that were more expensive, sure, rather than the Neutrogena, Clean and Clear, Noxema, all of that, Dove. Um, I was seeing better results, and just collectively, I felt better. You're not doing any damage to your endocrine system without the harsh fillers. You'll see products with 4 or 5 different kinds of alcohols, artificial colors in there, fragrance, harsh preservatives, several forms of harsh preservatives. And then you're just rubbing that into, your largest organ daily over time. I mean, that absolutely, I mean, in theory, I feel like is accelerating aging and also accelerating the aging of your skin. I mean, when you go outside, a lot of this, not a lot, but I mean, some of this is theory. I mean, just going outside with face full of makeup, having the sun bake that in, or having the sun bake in some SPF 50 with a littered ingredient deck list of 30 to 40 government recognized carcinogens, but it has SPF 50, but you're putting it on in the sun, just baking that in. Looking back, I wonder if that's a cause for certain, illnesses, as opposed to, I know there are people that are very sensitive to the sun and very susceptible to sun cancer and skin cancer, and I'm very respectful of that. I'm curious to figure out if that played, if that's a culprit of it. It just feels like, but it's all in theory to me. I wish somebody would do a study on that, just with all these SPF, loaded 40, 50, sunscreens, and then you're going out and baking it in for
The
hours.
sun protection thing, I get messages from people sometimes like, "Oh, I have fair skin, I mean, obviously, I don't think it's healthy to get burned, but my recommendation is wear a hat, wear clothes," you know?
Mhm.
And also what's interesting about skin sensitivity is this fact that you can build a solar callus, from actually getting sunlight in your eyes, sun gazing and things like that. I mean, there's a lot you can do internally before even considering that your exposure in the outside environment. I mean,
Mhm.
I never get sunburn. I guess I have inherently kind of Italian olive skin, but I mean, I haven't been sunburned since maybe like the early 2000s in Brazil. Because I was like, I don't get sunburned. And I went on the beach for a few hours in Rio and I had all these blisters all over me. It's like the equator doesn't play. So I
Yeah.
learned, oh, okay, maybe in LA I'm fine. I can lay naked in the sun all day long. But I'm always an advocate for safe sun exposure. But I think that the excess use of these sunscreens is causing a lot of problems too because you're blocking out a portion of the UV light. I forget if it's the A or B or whatever it is, but it's basically like you can get a really weird sunburn from sitting in the sun behind a window, right? Because you're not getting the full spectrum of the
Mhm.
UV. That happened to me actually at that house in the Hollywood Hills because I had this big window and I'd like, oh, I want to get my morning sun. So I started to just sit in front of that and meditate. And I would get this weird, not a sunburn, but just this weird red skin, I guess kind of a sunburn. And then I learned that it's not great to be in direct sunlight behind a window. And then I thought, oh, that's what sunscreen does. There's so much shit that we do that's just backwards. It's in opposition to nature.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if there's things we can eat, if we can acclimate our eyes to natural light, there's a lot we can do, I think, to build the resilience.
Right.
What about,
In harmony.
yeah, what
Yeah.
about people that suffer from acne? I know you mentioned retinol as a common ingredient. I know people that have been really harmed by taking Accutane. I remember my little brother took that when he's a teenager. It really messed him up. And I remember also I'm gonna embarrass my brother Cody, but he had like teenage acne, and he'd be washing his face constantly with these harsh cleansers.
Mhm.
And even back then, I remember thinking, I think if your face has oil, it's supposed to, you know what I mean? But he'd just be drying out his skin, and I guess it helped his acne. But what about what about the issue of acne, and how much of that has to do with the external of our skin versus things like hormones, different foods we're eating, and things like that. I mean,
Mhm.
you have really clear skin, but I know many people struggle with blemishes and things.
Right, yeah, I mean, I did too, and it was for me, it was a combination of hormones racing. I was 18, 19. But also diet. I was trying to gain weight. I was an athlete at the time, and I was just focused on protein, fat, calories, right? Definitely not into, ingredients. I just wanted to put on weight, but my back broke out. I would get, like, little cystic sores around my face, which is just an annoying form of acne because it never comes to a point where you can remove it. It sticks around for a few days, and it's just like a mosquito bite. And so I that's really what was a catalyst in switching up my products and eating better, becoming more familiar with my ingredients. I was on a I remember meeting with this, like, I bought my first, Flora, Flora, aqueous silica horsetail extract because I met with this Chinese herbalist in Berkeley, 18, 19 years old, and that was just trying to figure out how to, because I was changing in front of my locker room, like, didn't want anybody to see my back, and, but that was just the attention to what I was putting into and onto my body became it just became a very big interest of mine, and, but it was because I just feel like you mentioned, the hormones I was growing into my body, I was disrupting it with poor nutrition, and, but I would say mostly and also using products that were just counterproductive to having clear skin. Like you said, it was just all drying out the skin and just foaming agents, sodium lauryl sulfate was a huge culprit of that. Um, and then harsh preservatives and fragrance just led to like this disaster of a meal for my skin that was only increasing the problem and the issue. But yeah, I mean, the thing is you can just get that's why I just wanted to, with our surfactants, have it be beneficial, not just like something similar to sodium lauryl sulfate. Like for instance, our cleanser using colloidal silver to eat up bacteria, and then like a nice emulsion of clays and pearl powder and marshmallow mushroom just to heal the skin, and then eat up any bacteria if it's there. But just adding oils, kind of like an oil painter cleaning the brushes. You need a little bit of oil to cleanse some of the brushes. And so we have some of those oils to just act as a mild surfactant naturally, cleaning your face of oil and dirt, and then eating up bacteria with the colloidal silver. You can really keep it not basic, but like you said, just back to as close to nature as possible without using the lab made chemicals that are just so harsh on the skin. And I would say a big, just a cause of the irritation, the acne, and then, endocrine disruptors, your hormones already racing from that. And now you're having to take a pill internally with Accutane. That's just, I mean, I've heard nightmare stories about just the harsh side effects, depression, things like that that it can lead to. And my friend, one of my former employees, actually, he's like, "Man, you're depressed with acne, or you're depressed with the Accutane." He's like, which one would you rather have? And I was like, man, that's a tough position to be in. And so, yeah, man. I mean, it's that's I just think really gentle, you know, a good balanced diet, but hormones with can be very tough. But just staying active, getting good sunlight, and then using clean products, and then kind of if you're gonna growing into your body, you're gonna have some elements of the hormonal, maybe your body's reaction to growing into where it's gonna be, and the pubescent stages of our lives, but yeah, I mean, just making sure that we're putting, clean products into and onto our body, I think helps mitigate, all of the side effects and things that can happen with, just low hormones racing, and then just putting a band-aid on that with a pill or just some drying out of your skin daily, and then having to add this other moisturizer. They're all littered with chemicals. And so I just, really like to find a cleaner, more cleaner formulas closer to nature, but also dynamic too. Plants are amazing. I mean, there's just so much out there with so many just different remedies. And that's what's fun hearing. and in my travels from different cultures and what they use, and um, just kind of taking that back and my little alchemy when I decide to make a new product. It's just absorbing what other people do, taking what I want, leave the rest, experimenting on myself, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. If it works, maybe try it on some other people, seeing if they're seeing the same, feeling the same thing that I am, and taking it from there. But yeah, it's a fun process of
It's
creation. But
artistry.
yeah, yeah.
So as you're traveling around looking at these different cultures around the world, what is the most exotic or weird skin ingredient you found?
All right. Well, it's a potential, but it's gonna be tough to extract. There's this tree in Belize that is horned, had these points that came out. Well, underneath that is like, well, you rip that bark off, there's another layer to the tree, which apparently has SPF and properties in it to, just kind of heal or well, prevent sun damage. And that's known in San Pedro. And they also have these like little coquitos. They're like little mini coconuts you can crack open, scoop, just like full on coconuts, but they're like this big. That was interesting. That was back when I went there when MCT was so hot, and I was like, "Whoa, maybe I could get a ton of those." Who knows? Maybe it'd be uh, more potent in the medium chain triglyceride fat. But let's see what else. I want to get Petra Red Rock into one of my masks as well. I think it'd be amazing to have Petra Red Rock, Dead Sea, dry Dead Sea mud, copper, oxidized copper, tie that in somehow with an ingredient that I met uh, either in Italy or I want to make a product called Blue, Alitura Blue, and have an ingredient from each blue zone. Petra
Oh,
is in
cool.
one, yeah, an ingredient from each blue zone in an effort to just kind of, for skin longevity. So that's next. But yeah, I definitely want to get just an ingredient from those areas, and I have. So I actually, when I went there, I went to the biggest Dead Sea skincare manufacturer. Just walked in, had a jar of my clay mask, showed them my website, and kind of just, you know, uh, there's a little bit of a language barrier, but yeah, we're working together now, and they designed a couple cool tables for me too that they had there showing off their products, and it was just a really cool experience working with them. But yeah, I'm going to be making a body scrub and a pre-made clay mask with those ingredients. It's a little far out, but it's just cool that the traveling inspired that.
Speaking of Alitura Blue, have you ever thought about putting methylene blue in any of your products?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I did. I almost added it to the gold serum when I was making it. I took it out just because I just wasn't ready to put it in yet. But I mean, man, that was what 2016, 17, and it's only increased as far as just the interest. I take it almost daily, a little tincture in the back. But and I put it in my clay mask, but as far in sometimes I'll roll it into the skin. I'll combine a little bit of that with the gold
Oh, really?
serum and then roll it into the skin.
With the what's it called? A
The derma roller.
derma roller? Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's interesting. I definitely feel some activity there. I'll take some like NAD from my peptides, squirt it in there, just rub it around the gold serum, little methylene blue, and then roll that into the skin.
Wow, that's a cool idea.
That's a game changer for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
the methylene blue is just interesting because it's so photoreactive. You know, if you get in the sunlight with methylene blue or under red light, it potentiates the effect of it. So that's why I'm always like, huh, there's got to be a way to get it into your skin and scalp, and there's something to that. But I like the derma roller idea.
Yeah.
What's the deal with I haven't used a derma roller a lot on my skin, but I know that's something that you're into. Would you explain to people what the benefits are of derma rolling and how it helps rejuvenate the collagen in your skin and all that?
Yeah, yeah. So microneedling is huge. We have 0.25, zero point 0.5, and 1 millimeter lengths of these micro titanium needles that you just roll across your face, effectively opening up the epidermis, the first layer of your skin, and then letting the ingredients that you put on afterwards sink in that much further, effectively just maximizing the benefits of the products, sinking in that much deeper past the initial layer of the skin, with good, clean titanium needles. I mean, there are plastic derma rollers out there, stainless steel, I guess isn't that bad, but just making sure that you're cleaning it well in between use. I do it 1 to 3 times a week. Did it today. It's so invigorating. Also, what it does, it signals to your skin to repair itself effectively, kind of like creating a thicker collagen layer over time, creating these tiny little micro tears. You know, I mean, sometimes if you depending on how hard you roll it, you'll get like little pokes of blood, and some, you know, those vampire facials are becoming
Yeah.
super popular now. But I mean, this is something that you can do by you just using the control of your own hand, and for a fraction of the cost, out of the comfort of your own home, just a couple times a week. Just some people are for it, some people aren't. I love it
I gotta
personally.
get on it. I think you guys sent me one of the rollers, and I was looking for my little collection of your products, and I couldn't find it, so I don't know what I did with it, but I've done it on my scalp when I've tried to, like, regrow my hair. I've
Yeah.
done the microneedling and put serums in there and red light and shit, and I just never can keep up with it, but I do like, your face mask has this, which is this thing right here, the clay mask. I better be careful opening, I'm gonna get all over the furniture. But this has like a cool effect because it has this tingly feeling to it, which maybe you can speak to what it's doing. I'm admittedly a bit lazy with the clay mask. It's like I do it and go, oh my God, I should do this all the time because it feels amazing. Your skin looks and feels great afterward. But I tend to just put the oils and the night cream on because it's
Mhm.
just faster. But what
Yeah.
about microneedling, then doing a mask?
Oh,
Is
game
that a
changer.
is that a good move?
Yeah, that's the move right there, especially if you do methylene blue, because 'cause you're gonna wanna pull off all that, but which it does. Um, yeah, the clay mask is special. It's a blend of 4 clays: Rasul, kaolin, green desert clay, and French islet clay. We have a 10% ascorbic acid, which is a high potency form of vitamin C. That's probably where you get that little tingling and the
Okay.
bubbling from.
Yeah.
Kind of foams up a little bit. That wasn't intentional. It's just part of it. Freshwater pearl powder, American ginseng, first 4-hour milking grass-fed colostrum, and organic kelp powder. So, I mean, a lot of these things,
So
yeah,
you could legit just
drink it.
t make a drink of
I
that,
mean, I've
right?
done it. I've done it sometimes when you're a little depleted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, with the exception of maybe, the Rasul clay or kaolin clay, but kaolin clay's in toothpaste, like,
Right.
so what you mix it up. I like apple cider vinegar because it has a mother, enzyme in it that kind of blends with the bentonite, helps just, maintain the electromagnetic properties, which help remove heavy metals. Um, it just has a really good the particle size makes sense because I was pretty finicky with sourcing the clays. So I didn't know this. I just it was a total just a feel thing. You know what I mean? It's not like I went through and micro tested it, but what I mean, tested the properties of it. But just in sourcing the clays and that was important just to have it sit and have it blend perfectly. The emulsion it sits on the face a lot different than any other clay mask, and I've seen, and also just the components of it. You're really drawing out so much while reintroducing a lot of good minerals, trace minerals, and just nutrition that your skin and body needs, just internally, but also just topically with subtly exfoliating over time with sunspots and acne scars, and just rejuvenating the skin. If it's once a week that you're doing it, if you're taking a couple days off and doing it a few times a week, I mean, it's just a professional spa quality facial from the comfort of your own home. I mean, you can kind of add just different essential oils to make it a little bit of an aromatherapy experience as well.
I gotta get back on it. Alright, you
Yeah.
inspired every time I interview someone and they remind me of something, I'm like, "Alright." I do a lot of shit. I go through phases of having discipline to do certain things, but that's one I think would really help me. Plus, I'm no spring chicken, so I wanna salvage what what looks I have as long as I can.
Yeah,
I'll be
just
53 this year, dude. Sometimes I'll look at pictures of myself and I'm like, "Oh, shit, you're the old guy." Like, "How did that
not
happen?"
at all, dude.
No, I mean, I'm not really too caught up in vanity, but no one's mad at looking in the mirror and going, "Shit, I'm doing all right," you know?
Yeah.
So you think about these things a little more, I think, as you get older. Have you thought about doing any bath products, like a bath ball or something? I thought of that because there was back in the day, I was really into these medicinal baths, and I'd put like a shit ton of calcium bentonite clay and different things in the bath to kind
Yeah.
of adsorb toxins and things like that. And as you talk about the clay mask, I'm like, man, it'd be dope to do it to your whole body.
Right.
Have you ever thought about
I
doing
have
something
thought
like that?
about that, and I thought about it just recently because Matt Blackburn did a podcast on his amino acid bath,
Oh,
and now I'm
right.
like, "Alright, so now maybe that's another thing because 'cause I've been fascinated with it. I had a friend, like you said, that used to do, like, these, charcoal baths and bentonite baths, and I was like, "Man, that's gonna be expensive if I ever did the clay mask with that,"
Right.
but no, but you're right, though. If you just isolated it, made little cubes, and then really made them, concentrated with impactful ingredients, yeah, that could be huge. Um,
I've thought
yeah.
about too, just since most of us are taking baths in tap water,
Mhm.
I think one of my and I don't know if there's any scientific basis to this reality, but I always felt like if I was putting a little bit of charcoal or some clay in the bath, that it was helping to absorb some of the chlorine and toxins and stuff in
Oh, that's a
there.
good point.
And again, I don't know if that's true. It was a mental thing where I'm like, God, baths are really good for you, but in LA tap water, who knows,
I know.
We just I'll show you when we're done recording, we're just in the process of having this whole house, Ofora water system put in here. I'm just so excited to finally be able to, like, take a bath in clean water, take a shower in clean water. Like, I've never had that in my whole life. I have
Wow.
shower filters and, I do what I can, but baths specifically, I mean, you can smell the chlorine and shit. It's just like there's fluoride and all kinds of nasty stuff in there.
I remember you years ago telling me about because I would go into the Equinox steam room. And,
Oh,
dude,
steam rooms.
your
Oh.
explanation of steam rooms, dude, I don't think I've been back. I think I've gone, like, once in 10 years,
Well,
so
it's funny 'cause, some gyms, and this is probably true of Equinox since they're kind of a higher end gym, some gyms do filter the water before it goes to steam. But I started noticing that because 'cause I'd go to, like, 24-hour fitness and go in the steam room, and after you're living a kind of chemical-free life for a long time, you really smell stuff, like, I'm sure
yeah.
if you put on some crappy
Mhm.
cologne or some skin product that has a lot of fragrance in it, it's like,
Oh,
oh, it's
yeah.
overwhelming because
Totally.
you're not used to it, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'd walk in the steam room and just be like, "This is, like, literally a gas chamber," you know? Because the crazy and this is true of hot showers too in, like, city water, not to freak people out, but it's one thing when you mix chemicals together in solution in water, right? There's different, byproducts that are formed by mixing chemicals. It's like alchemy, right? Toxic alchemy. But when you turn them into steam, a lot of chemicals become other chemicals. And when you mix the steams together of the chemicals, there's further chemicals still. So yeah, steam rooms for me. But then I went to it might have even been at Equinox. I remember going to one gym being like, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but do you guys happen to filter the water for the steam rooms? They're like, "Yep, absolutely. We have a whole system." Yeah, it was in LA. I forget what gym it was, and I was like, "Oh,
Interesting.
cool." It might have even been Equinox on Wilshire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a girlfriend at the time, I think, had a membership there, and I had a guest pass for one day, and I was like, "We'll see what's up," and I was impressed, but it's definitely something to consider if you're a health-minded person and you're doing things to support your health. Steam's great, but maybe not if your pores are all opening up, your lungs are open, and you're breathing that shit in for half an hour or whatever. Probably not awesome. I want to let people know before I forget, you guys have given us a 20% discount on the
Yes.
Alitura products. So if you guys go to lukestory.com/Alitura, that's Alitura, lukestory.com/Alitura, and the code is the name of the show, Lifestylist, and that's going to get you 20% off. I want to go into a couple of the ingredients because, as I said earlier, I'm just a nut, like you, about just obsessively wanting the highest quality of everything possible.
Mhm.
You mentioned that you put colostrum in some of your products, and
Mhm.
I eat a lot of colostrum. Until I met you, I never thought of putting it on the skin. What's the logic behind that?
So healing. Like, it just, that was one of those things, yeah, Ivan Etchevich gave me a jar of I think it was I don't know if Daniel Vitalis's colostrum, because he was literally one of the first people to even mention it, Daniel Vitalis. And I was taking that in my smoothie, extremely expensive, but I just, thought it was really good for just building my system back internally. But I mean, it's the first mother's milk to the calf. What all the calves are filled, we are fed before we get the surplus. We concentrate that, put it into a powder, make it into a powder, and it's really good for repairing, healing the skin, post exfoliation, introducing minerals to the skin. It has an IGF-1 growth factor component to it, which
Oh,
I feel
yeah,
like
right, right.
during the cell turnover process, just in combination with the vitamin C and the different trace minerals and the silica from the clays, just helps develop a healthier collagen synthesis over time. I feel I can replenish that area combined with all the blood flow to the surface. I mean, you're just really incorporating a lot of rich, healthy ingredients back into the skin, as well as removing a lot of impurities.
Yeah.
But yeah, colostrum is one of those things where it was just I trusted the process that if it was so good internally, then I was start experimenting with it. I would make little pastes with beeswax, cacao butter, and that it's actually in our night cream too. Yeah, I mean that's how it started.
This stuff has,
Yeah,
cacao in it? Oh, that
colostrum,
oh,
not
okay, it has
cacao.
colostrum.
Cacao butter, excuse me. Yeah,
It has cacao, but yeah, because I
yeah,
think that's why I always wanna eat it.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
like, I couldn't place the smell, but I think that's what it is. It kind of has a little slight chocolatey flavor to it. One of these days, I'm gonna eat it, you know?
Go
I'm gonna
for
try
it.
right now.
Go for it.
Actually, it tastes pretty good.
Yeah, it's a little
I don't know why this is the first time I've done that, because literally every night I put it on, I'm like, "God, I wish this was like a
body lotion is good.
I wish this was like a cake frosting." But
I'm
there
not kidding. Here, seriously,
alright,
try that.
I'll
It's
try it.
not bad.
I ain't scared. Oh, does this one have like a little sandalwood in it?
Yeah, sandalwood,
Ah, yeah.
lemongrass, vanilla,
I like the smell of this.
beeswax.
Alright, we're over here eating lotion, guys, for those
I used to do that
just
in the
listening.
booth.
Dude, that tastes really good.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little lemon, vanilla,
that's
beeswax.
that's actually really good. It
You
tastes like a
Brazilian?
sweet vanilla Thai food
I
or something because
know.
of lemongrass. I start using the very expensive salad dressing here. I mean, there's a lot of products though, like in the body care space that are like, oh, it's they know the concept if you're putting it on your skin, you're putting it in your body, and so people say like, oh, it's so clean you can eat it, but I would probably never do that with most products.
Ah,
But I mean, unless you're lying about the ingredient deck, everything in here is like edible. So
yeah.
anyway, I want to get into a couple more things that I'm just curious about. Um, what about you mentioned some of the clays? What about the bee products like the propolis and the honey and stuff like that? You
Yeah.
mentioned this goes back to ancient cultures in Egypt and elsewhere. What's the deal with like using bee products on the skin?
I'm just so glad I became drawn to that and interested in that because can you imagine me trying to find another, like, emulsifying agent, you know, c it's difficult,
And the
it's
emulsif
what
explain what the
like
emulsifying agent
glycerin, just fillers, flowing agents to
to
make
make
sure the
something liquid?
emulsion. Yeah,
Okay.
liquids, yeah, and sometimes it can be powdered to kinda thicken up, thickeners, fillers, things that really I mean, especially if you can find one that serves the skin as well as bee products. I mean, they're just scientists are finding out more and more about how molecularly complex royal jelly, propolis, pollen, beeswax, and honey in general. It's just, I mean, I'm just fascinated by bees, um, their healing components, how much they control just worldwide, with our food production. I mean, they're essential for just so many components of our lives, and so I luckily got put in touch with a family out in Haleiwa, Hawaii, that holistically raises bees. I'm trying to think of another sign. When I was first starting this, and I think I only had my moisturizer back then, Carly Stein from Beekeepers Naturals. I think she used to be a beekeeper. I should know this, but like it was interesting that she was starting. I think she started a year after me, or maybe right around the same time. But that's just it. Kind of just the bee products in general have been just very I've just been very interested in using them in my formulas over anything else, really. I'm I'm not sure why, but I've been drawn to that as the base for all my formulas, with the exception of Santal Black and Presence and our Pearl Cleanser. But like the moisturizing aspect, the healing, just the fact that it's so I know this may sound that it's so sticky, that it's so sticky. I mean, the things, the medicinal parts of, aloe vera, garlic, turmeric, they're harsh, you know what I mean? Like the stickiness, I just feel like that's part of the medicine, the healing component. It's not just gonna go there and, be absorbed and then just I mean, I love the fact that for our night and that was a big reason why I wanted to know that it was healing my scarring is because then it was there the next morning when I was making the little paste and so I just felt like, the things that you rub in and the creams and things that I was buying to it was on the shelf. I forget the name at Air One, and it had a good clean ingredient deck of oils, and it would just get absorbed, and then it was gone. It just wasn't. I, I just feel like that has no healing component over time. I love the fact that yeah, with bee products specifically, the honeys, uh, royal jelly, just finding out this. I mean, the way these elements are secreted from such interesting little.
Bees are so cool.
I
I
know.
love bee products. I had Carly, on the show from Beekeepers Naturals, a couple years or that was a few years ago now at this point, maybe shortly after she launched. I still use their stuff all the time. I haven't
Mhm.
found a better comprehensive bee product. I mean, she's got the propolis and the royal jelly and the pollen and the honey. I think it's called Bee Powered,
Uh-huh.
one of their products. Freaking amazing. But, one thing that's interesting about even just honey is that you can put it on cuts and burns. I mean, just by itself, it's just
Mhm.
it's crazy. Like,
Mhm.
talk about an internal and an external medicinal superfood. Bees, I'm with you. They're like just the most awesome little creatures. I want
Antimicrobial,
right.
antibacterial. I mean, it's just extremely healing and moisturizing at the same time. And their trace minerals, I mean, there's just so much, uh
Enzymes too.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, especially when you get it raw like we do. That was another thing in the manufacturing process. I knew I wanted it to be bee product based, but just meeting with different manufacturers, "Oh, we have honey." I mean, this family holistically raises bee farms. It's that fresh rather than getting something that, has just been sitting. I mean, I just love that there's a story behind that part of it that was never intended, but,
And then what about the, lack of preservatives? I notice a lot of skincare products will have good ingredients, but then there's, like, sodium benzenate or what shit on there that's hard to pronounce,
mhm.
and then I'm kinda, "Eh." I mean, how hard was it for you to avoid putting harmful preservatives? Because obviously, your stuff's not the cheapest on the market because of the ingredients you're using, obviously, we've described, but if somebody pays 30, 50, $60, whatever it is, for a little jar of skincare product, and then it starts growing mold and goes bad, that super sucks for the, customer. Did you
Mhm.
have issues, at any point of, like, getting stuck and being like, "Oh, we have to come up with some kind of preservative,"
Yeah.
or did the Myron glass solve that? Like, how does your stuff last
Yeah, I
without
did.
putting chemicals in it?
I did. I had to reformulate the night cream with an EcoCert approved little daikon radish extract and a coconut lactobacillus ferment. So, I mean, but we started off without it, but we thought it'd be a good idea because you're reintroducing your own bacteria. It wasn't a huge problem, but it was just something that we wanted to solve, and we have that in our Pearl Cleanser as well. Moisturizer, gold serum, body lotion, no preservative. So we use Miron glass for that. Their whole motto is preserved by the bottle, not by toxins. And I know it's a water-based product. It's just I mean, whether it's bee products with just kind of enhancing the life or the fact that the Miron is blocking out the artificial light and only allowing in the good rays to enhance the life and the bioactivity of the ingredients. I I mean yeah, with the exception, of it's just a matter. I mean, it's a matter of testing. That if with the night cream, I just felt that introducing your own bacteria, and then we did have some mold issues with that, so we had to go back and add in an EcoCert approved food grade preservative. That's the only way that I think I would do it. Yeah, and but luckily, I mean, they met the specifications. We did the 30-60-90 micro test on the night cream and pearl cleanser, and it's gonna be in our meteorite scrub. It's I mean, it's important to have in there if you need it, but like I said, in the other products, moisturizer, gold serum, body lotion, Santal Black doesn't have any, obviously, it's all water. They don't have that, which is super rare. Nobody does that.
Have you ever done the experiment with the, Myron glass or Miron glass? Everyone says it's different, where you take, like, a clear glass and put a tomato in it, and then put a tomato in the Miron glass?
No.
I've never done it, but I've seen photos of it, and they on the interweb say that, dude, you could put a tomato inside this glass and it'll last for years, like sitting on the kitchen counter. And then the other one is moldy in 3 days and starts to rot. Yeah. I've always
Yeah.
like I see stuff like that. I'm like, I want to try it. Or like where people will grow a plate of sprouts next to a Wi-Fi router, and then they grow a plate of sprouts over here with some EMF protection stuff, whatever. Like, there's a lot of cool
Yeah.
kind of at-home little science experiments you can do, and I always want to do it to see if it works for me, like it did for the person online or wherever I saw it. But that's one. It's always I'm like, I got to do that, and then I just forget to order like a couple big jars of this glass to see what you can do. It's just fun to play around with that.
Well, your connect, Michael Soko, I think his name is. He showed me his example. I sat down, I met with him right after meeting with you. I mean, that's thank you, by the way. That's 100% what led to my sourcing for this.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, that's huge. But he did. He showed me
Oh,
that.
he
I think
did?
he had like tomato paste and he just the guy blew me away with it. It
Yeah.
wasn't even a speed. Matter of fact, when I was trying to figure out price breaks, like if we, 1 to 5K, 10K, or something like that, units. But he's like, oh no, no price breaks.
Oh,
He's like,
damn.
yeah, like they're doing well. Anybody, yeah. I mean, when I see people using Marone glass, I know that they care. That's big respect for any company out there using
I've
Marone
noticed it's
glass.
become more prevalent, and I know from talking to you about it, it's way more expensive.
So much more expensive. This
I've
bottle and top is more expensive. Just the bottle, no formula. Bottle and pump is more expensive, I bet, than you know, four-figure, creams out there, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Just the bottle.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's $2.54 for just the bottle and the pump. That's it. This formula right here is
Well, knowing
$24.
that, I sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I'll take the labels off these and reuse them because
Yeah.
I don't like throwing away this glass
No, no,
because I
no,
know
no.
how expensive it is. It feels so wasteful, and there's, like, something I can do with it. So I have a few little jars where I'll keep, like, my psilocybin microdose in there, something that I really wanna preserve.
Right.
I'll use these empties after I peel the sticker off, run it through the dishwasher, and get the sticky shit off, and then it becomes my little stash box of
That's
sorts.
smart.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something you wanna waste.
No.
Alright, let me see, I wanna make sure I get every bit of information out of you here, about especially about the ingredients. Oh, yeah, so, there's a couple things that just make sense, like marine collagen. Cool, yeah, collagen, you need that to build skin. And colloidal silver you mentioned, which is obviously super smart in other products because of its antimicrobial. But something too that stuck out that you're using are chaga mushrooms
Mhm.
and the Chinese herb Hisho Wu. What
Oh, Hoshu Wu is
Hoshu
my
Wu? Okay,
yeah.
what's because I eat those two herbs very consistently actually, but I'd never thought to put them on my skin.
No, the Hoshu Wu isn't in any, skincare product yet,
Oh, okay,
but
okay,
maybe in a hair product. I don't
okay.
that is it's undeniably effective. I started taking that when I was, what, 22, 21, 22, when a professor made fun of me for having grays in my goatee, and so I just started became obsessed with trying to, reverse, gray hair, and I found out about Foti Polti yeah, I mean, it's basically Hoshu Wu. I got my first kilo of that from plum flower, May Maytag plum flower Chinese. I forget the source, but I started taking tablespoons of that every day, and my hair got dark, probably about as dark as yours. I have pictures.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause I've heard that about that herb,
Hmm.
and I don't know, I just actually like the taste of it. There's a company called, Longevity Power. Have you ever used their stuff?
No.
He has really good extracts. He's got a goji berry extract. It's freaking amazing. He's got a by far the most potent reishi extract, a powdered extract. I mean, it's like black. quarter teaspoon in a glass of water. It looks like coffee, you know, it's really
Wow.
strong. And then he's got a great maca, like a 10x maca extract. So no fiber at all, just the extract. Yeah, longevity power. Huge shout out. We'll put his stuff in the show notes. Christian Bates is his name.
Okay.
But he has the best Hoshu Wu that I've ever found, and it's, you know, something like a 10x extract. It's super potent.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been out of that for a while, actually. I gotta get back on it. All right, for
Yeah.
some reason, I thought you were putting that in stuff. What about chaga? Is that just something you use, or does that have any application in skincare in the future?
It's I'm really interested in tremella mushroom for the as it's like one of nature's highest source of hyaluronic acid. That's in our cleanser. Um, Chaga and reishi, chaga is in our night cream.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and
Because the chaga is interesting because it has melanin in it. It's one
mhm,
of the few sources of melanin in nature. That's why I thought, oh, that would kind of make sense to put in a skincare product.
yeah, a lot of these, not a lot. Well, yeah, it's experimenting, seeing how the alchemy and because it if it's good for one thing, certain things, you know, immune system wise, I just feel like it may be healing to some type of infection or, topically as well. And through that experimentation, I just felt like it fit. Back then when I was making that chaga was huge. I don't know if you,
Yeah.
but
Well, you brought me back Truth Calkin and Ron Teagarden and all these guys. That's like the early Erewhon crew.
yeah.
And then David Wolf started going in there and chilling with Truth, and then
Mhm.
he started really popularizing a lot of the Chinese herbs and specifically the medicinal mushrooms. But isn't it crazy now, dude? Like it's like CBD. It's like the CBD industry. Like there's medicinal mushrooms in everything now. You go into Whole Foods and just like everywhere. But yeah, I remember, man. Like I still boil my own chaga, but yeah, it was such an exciting time back then of just going in and getting these crazy tonics and all
Yeah.
these different Chinese herbs that you'd never heard of. You know, because back in my day, like in the 70s and 80s, my parents shopped at the health food store, but it was like granola and, you know, wheat germ powder out of the bulk bin. It's, you know, you didn't have like all this exotic stuff from all over the world. But when the cacao hit, I mean, David Wolf really popularized cacao. But that early Erewhon scene was really fun because you're just like learning about all these different ingredients and herbs and all these different superfoods and stuff like that. That was a really cool time. That was when I kind of cut my teeth and learned about a lot of this stuff too.
Mhm.
But I never thought of putting it on your skin.
Yeah.
I have you to thank for that. It's like, well, but I like your methodology. If it's good for you inside, like something like colostrum is known to be so healing to the gut,
Mhm.
what's your gut? Basically, it's like the skin on the inside of you. So it makes sense that it's going to be healing to your external skin too. These barriers, you know, it's like you have the gut, all your mucosal lining throughout the interior of your body is basically skin on the inside to protect you from shit that you eat, like your skin on the outside protects you from the outer environment, you know?
That's a really good point, you know?
Yeah.
Would explain a lot. Just an experimentation with that, and also with aloe vera too. Aloe vera was another big component, and then with it being so helpful and healing topically as well. Um, yeah, that was another
Do you
big
put
one.
aloe in your stuff now?
Aloe is in our moisturizer and, cleanser, but I like aloe because it's so hard to keep. We have
Oh,
a
yeah.
powdered version
Oh,
of it in
okay,
our
yeah.
cleanser. It's
It
organic
goes
still.
bad, right?
Yeah,
Because I know a lot of the oral, like, aloe products where you can buy it to drink, it's hard to find it without
yeah, citric
preservatives.
acid or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally what it
Dude,
is.
you know what's funny? 2 days ago, it's, like, coming into early summer here, so I'm on, like, my usual yearly plant buying spree, and we haven't done the landscaping here, so I'm just, like, buying a couple plants to kinda pretty up the yard. For the first time since that old house in LA all those years ago, I just bought 2 little baby aloe vera plants.
Nice.
Yeah, because I would cut a fillet of those, and I'd throw just a big filleted chunk in my smoothie every day, but then I'd take the skin and rub that slime all over my hands, and that was like my face lotion, and I actually miss doing that. It was a cool little ritual, and I don't I don't know if it's good to put that much aloe vera on your face, but
I think it
it
is.
felt good, and then it would kinda dry and make my skin all taut. It was like a little
Yes,
facelift, you know?
exactly. I did the
Yeah.
same thing, man.
But yeah, that's I didn't even realize that I just am reintroducing aloe vera into my world. But yeah, I guess in a product like yours, you're using a powdered version because
Yeah,
the juice just
it's
is prone
tough.
to
The shelf
spoilage.
life, it would, yeah,
Yeah.
that would mess a lot of things up. We attempted, but the powdered version is good. Um, but what else was I gonna say? Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, just the raw. I mean, straight cut.
Yeah.
Straight from the ground. I mean, those enzymes.
Are you growing any in Sedona? Any
Not
aloe
yet.
vera?
Not
Okay.
yet.
I
It,
mean, you got the sun for it.
I know.
It'd probably do really well there.
I
And you
know.
could water it with the spring water. Do you go get spring water ever from that spring up on 89?
I do. There's a lot of people that have conflicting opinions on whether or not that's actual, like, municipal water or if it's actually from the
Oh,
creek.
no way,
I
dude.
don't I mean, I need
That's
to know,
real
though.
deal spring.
Oh,
If you
okay.
go to there's a site called testmyhome.com. It's a
Okay.
guy, Ryan Blaser, I had on the show, and they have a great service where they go in and test your home for air quality, mold, VOCs, all your lighting, flicker, color temperature, and EMF. Really great guy, great service.
Wow.
But on their site, you can order a water test and you take some sample water and you send it in. It's a very stringent lab and it'll tell you if the water's safe. That's what I recommend for people that have a spring locally that they want to drink from. But there's no way that Sedona spring is like river water or tap water. No way. But there
No.
was a time many years ago when it got contaminated and they shut
Ah,
it down because there was a fire on the hill above it and they used all this fire retardant. They sprayed it to stop the fire,
right.
the firefighters, and so that got into the ground and actually went in the spring, and it was contaminated for some time. And then there was talk of like some bacteria and weird stuff. So I know a lot of locals have had a on and off relationship with that spring, so it's worth testing. But I'm like, man, I'd be if the water is clean and pure still as I think it is, I'd be doing some experiments and like getting that living water,
Yeah.
making some stuff with that.
Yeah,
Growing your aloe vera with that great spring water, if it's
absolutely.
legit.
I gotta have those guys come that guy come out to my house. Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that's one of the
Testmyhome.com,
best
yeah.
things, testmyhome.com,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's it's a great service. They came here, and I tell you, dude, it was kind of part of the podcast because we tested everything, then talked about what we had tested for. It was such a relief because I put so much energy into this house of just all non-toxic everything, and then
Mhm.
I did a lot of EMF shielding in different rooms and stuff, and also dealt with the mold and the air quality, and I was like, "God damn it. If he comes in here and I fail any of these, I'm gonna be so pissed because I mean, I work so hard, and it's like passed with flying colors. There are a couple minor little EMF things that I had to fine tune, but it's been my dream, my whole adult life basically to have a house that's like really clean energy and doesn't have any weird shit in it. But I was always renting, so I never went that hardcore. This time, like
Yeah,
I'm doing it right.
blank
Yeah,
canvas.
a lot of time, money, and energy spent doing it, but
So
I've thought about it though. I'm
satisfying.
like, if we ever sell this house, which I don't have any plans of doing anytime soon, but I'm like, I would have to sell it to the right type of person so they would be willing to pay the extra that I spent, right? I want to get
Yeah.
that money back. Like this room right here that we're in, under these wood floors, for example, is all shielded for electric fields. So there's like a grounded mesh under the floorboards. And then the walls, about 6 feet up the walls, are all shielded for electric fields. So when we're chilling in here, we're not getting electric fields from the floor because there's fans and ceiling lights underneath us in the family room.
Uh-huh.
So when we tested for that, there's just massive shit coming out of the floor. And you're like laying here relaxing, getting zapped with 60 hertz all day long. So I was like, I don't want that. So I did all kinds of super crazy shit beyond just like Faraday, the bedrooms. Also, any lounge areas are all shielded. Yeah, because I'm just that paranoid and crazy
No,
and
it's
maybe
good
smart.
though. Yeah. I gotta do more of that.
One thing I wanted to add that we didn't talk about earlier on the sun protection. Do you have anything to say about the elimination of seed oils, omega 6s from the diet? 'Cause I think that is why a lot of people have skin problems and susceptibility to being burned is not only from the sunscreen, but from eating these inflammatory oils.
I think it yeah, I mean, I think I've heard so much about seed oils, and it's become you're hearing a lot of negative talk about just for diet restrictions and how it just can lead to it's so commonly found in a lot of shitty protein bars, high sugar. It's up there with like staying away from processed foods, seed oils, high sugar, dairy, all that. I think it is just another one of those um, kind of like how wheat can bark at your skin and you can have some type of reaction. I feel like seed oils can definitely. I mean, that's a that when we get a lot of customers contacting us just about seed oils. If it's in any of our products, we stay away from them for the most part. I have sunflower seed because it does have a high uh, concentration of vitamin E as opposed to using soy. So I use that in my testosterone based in our pearl cleanser as a preservative, but and then also in Santal Black just because of its emulsion. It has very good topical emollients and vitamin E as well too. But I mean, as far as ingesting, and I would definitely stay away from seed oils. And then now that I think about it, just how that would incorporate topically with your skin. I mean, I guess those do kind of would go hand in hand with what my theory on being so good internally to use on to use topically as well. I mean, I wouldn't. I guess yeah, it would make sense. I'm not using seed oils on the skin. I do use a couple. I do think raspberry seed oil is very beneficial for the skin. We're going to be putting that in, and like I said, sunflower seed. But there are,
Well, that's
yeah,
a lot. I mean, to your credit, that's a much different universe than, like, putting canola oil in
yeah,
your I mean, I see a lot of skincare products have, like, super shitty seed oils in them. I'm
yeah,
like, "Dude, come on. You wanna talk about, like, getting sunburn? Go slather on some whatever seed oil, of choice." Like, um, I think there are also classifications, like, if you're using, some sunflower oil, for example, if it's not rancid, that's a completely different world than using canola oil or something that is highly processed and hydrogenated and all this kinda shit.
yeah,
There's definitely classifications,
for
and
sure.
I haven't had any in a while because we don't have Erewhon out here, but I used to like to use, sunflower lecithin as
Hmm.
an emulsifier to make,
Yes.
like, my different smoothies and elixirs and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and it's incredible because you can mix fat and water and, like,
Hmm.
turn something into a creamy texture that would have been hard to actually emulsify, so I'm not mad at sunflower products, and I'm sure yours are sourced right.
Hmm.
Before we wrap up here, what do just to geek out with you for a sec, what kinda supplements, superfoods, what kinda shit are you on just on dietary things that you're taking in terms of the internal health and energy and stuff?
Yeah, let's see here. I love NAD. I'm on I don't know if you're taking peptides. I take NAD, vitamin C, glutathione a few times a week. Um
How are you getting the
injection.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kinda stings.
Yeah. And then it gives you like a little
Yeah. Dude, speaking of NAD, before I forget, I recently got turned on to this product, called I think it's called Ion Layer. I just got some, and they're and oh,
Yep.
actually, I have one right here.
Yeah.
NAD patches, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll try this." It's got, like, a negative charge side on the little pad and then a positive charge side, and you put this different solution on either side, and then it's a vial of, like, NAD powder, and you mix it with the sterile water, and you fill up each side with one of the 2 solutions, and you put the sticker on for 14 hours. Yesterday, I still have mine on just out of laziness, even though it's probably already absorbed, but I got shit sleep the night before, and I was smoked when I woke up. I was so tired. I'm like, "Alright, today's the day I'm gonna test this patch. Not gonna do any other super energizing supplements or coffee or anything. I'm just gonna see how my energy is." And after maybe an hour, I couldn't even tell that I got bad sleep, and I don't recommend NAD as a substitute for bad sleep, 'cause nothing really makes up for sleep, but I was like, "This shit works." Like, I literally, no doubt, had more energy after I put that thing on.
Yeah, it was
Super cool.
solid. That's Anthony Gustin's new co yeah, I tried that out.
Oh,
They
really?
sent me some too.
I didn't even realize that was Anthony. He's been on the podcast.
Yeah, no, he's awesome.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
another one
so
of his
that's because
ventures.
I was doing the NAD injections. I'm like, it kinda leave me, like, a little sore in my belly fat or whatever where I'd injected. It's like a little stinging, so that's why I was stoked to find this one.
Yeah, I did note it's tough to compare for me potency-wise,
Yeah,
but I did like that, though. I did notice a little bit a subtle boost, when I would switch it out. I wouldn't do obviously both.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I did like those. It was a little bit of a process kinda, adding it in with the stickers and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
getting it all dialed
It
in,
took
but
me a couple times to figure it
yeah,
out,
me
yeah.
too.
I put, like, too much liquid on one time, it's all dripping down my arm and
Me
shit,
too.
and you can't get it wet, so that's I had to figure out how to get in the ice bath without submerging my shoulder, but now I've been through, I think, 4 of them. I've used it
You can
4
get the
times.
hang, yeah.
Yeah, now I'm like, "Okay, I know what to do now," like when to put it on and how to keep it dry and stuff, yeah, I'm a big fan of NAD.
Yeah.
I always just want more energy. I mean, that's what we're all going for, right? If you have energy, you can do anything you want to do. Any kind of disease or issues we're having are usually a metabolic lack of energy. There's something happening in our mitochondria and they aren't making ATP right or enough of it?
Yeah. I would say there's something about high dose niacin in sauna as being just a complete I know what I'm getting every single time the next day. You know what I mean? It's not comfortable, and maybe you want to seek a physician's advice before using niacin. That's one thing that I really, a couple times a week, high dose niacin, sauna. I get movement in daily. Obviously, we're getting busier, so my workouts are, 10, 15, no, 15, 20, and then most of my work is in the sauna. I mean, just for
What kind of
just
sauna you have?
well, it's not my I'm gonna get one, but, at the gym, they have, I think it's a clear light,
Oh, okay, cool.
and just yeah, I mean, that's mentally as well, just a lot of cleansing and just for some reason, it just yeah, that's where I get a lot of my good thoughts in and,
Sauna
meditation.
therapy is the best, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do without saunas. Although I recently learned something, much to my dismay. We've been wanting to have a baby, and been at it for about a year or so, and it hasn't happened. So I'm like, there's no way I have issues with sperm because I'm so healthy, like all the shit that I do, right? So I got mine tested. The test came back. It's a company, I think it's called Fellow, and you send in a sample and then they send you results. And it looks like a credit score. It's like a little circle, and there's a red dot on one end and the green on the other end. I'm like in the red, like way low motility. And I'm going, what the hell? Like I mean, I know I'm 52, but I should be doing better in that department. So I start researching it. First thing I see from Doctor Google is, if you wanna raise your sperm count, don't take hot tubs, and I was like, "Oh, man, I love hot springs and hot tubs." We have a jacuzzi here, but it hardly ever works, so I don't really use it. Next line says saunas, avoid saunas. I'm like, "Dude, I've been taking saunas for years."
Yeah.
It turns out that heating up the wedding tackle, if you're a male, is kills your sperm. So I had to stop taking saunas. Every once in a while, take it with an ice pack where it's needed. But dude, just not doing them all the time. I miss my saunas. Like, gotta hurry up and have a kid so I can get back to my sauna routine here, man. Yeah, so
Wow.
any guys listening, if you're having, issues conceiving, it's really something to look into is getting the sperm test and being mindful of the saunas. And I was just so annoyed because I've interviewed sauna manufacturers, experts. I've been a huge promoter of sauna therapy. I'm like, been taking saunas literally since I was a little kid. Why did I never once hear that that was one of the unfortunate side effects of sauna therapy? So something to keep in mind. I don't know if you're dating anyone or what your deal is right now, but if you're gonna use them, boys, bring an ice pack in there when you do, if you want to have
Man,
kids. So
that I
anyway,
it's exactly what you just said. That's really tough, man. Because
dude,
sauna is
it's
just
how
my
I stay
reset.
sane,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Oh,
it's
man,
so
that's
good emotionally and mentally. That's what I find. It's like physically it feels great because it releases all the tension, but it's just like if I'm stressed out or have anxiety or I'm just like moody and mopey, I take a sauna and jump in the ice bath. I'm like a new person.
yeah.
It's like I was just reborn.
It's right up there with the sun. Stay out of the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine no sun, no sauna? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it does make sense, and I had heard that. I think Seamland, Siim, he's awesome. I think he did something on a report on that recently.
Yeah, well, I wish I
Dang.
woulda known, but better late than never.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanna ask you in terms of, skin health and, the longevity of our youthful looks, what about red light therapy?
Oh, huge fan. And it was you and Ben Greenfield that really turned it up for me. I use Joovv. What I like to do, I like a Joovv solo right here, probably 15 minutes on each side. And then before I go to bed as well, it's supposed to just balance out, your circadian rhythm, but at the same time, it does something to the mitochondria of all of our cells. So, like after exfoliation or after derma rolling with the methylene blue and NAD with a mask on, as it
Right.
starts to dry, there's some type of warmth from that photobiomodulation in the red light that just and then also healing. Once you rinse off the mask, I put on the there's just activity that is not there normally when I'm not using the red light or putting on those products.
That's
There's
cool.
cell signaling. There's something to it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I gotta get on I'm committed. I'm gonna get back on the clay mask and try it in
Yeah,
the red light. 'Cause one thing I've
yeah.
always liked, going to hot springs, if you find one that has mud, I always like to cover my whole body in mud and go lay in the sun and just bake. There's just something innate in my awareness that knows it's good. I don't know why I like doing it, but it's just this primal thing. I have to cover myself in mud and lay in the
Lay in
sun,
the sun. That's what
you
animals
know?
do to heal themselves, or at least elephants for sure.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, so
yeah,
there's something to that red light with the clay. Yeah, that's cool.
there is.
All right, last thing I'm gonna ask you, my friend, is this. Who have been 3 teachers or teachings, philosophical teachings, etcetera, that have influenced your life and helped you be who you are?
Mm. Robert Frost, his quote, "There were 2 paths in the diverted woods. I took the path less traveled, and that has made all the difference." I'm paraphrasing. It's definitely true, though, man. I just I graduated, had a draft party, wasn't drafted, went down to LA just following something bigger, not getting the job right out of college, working at Abercrombie, but following, believing in something
Were you one
bigger.
of the ripped Abercrombie guys at the
That
door
was
with your shirt off?
that was me, yeah, but I mean,
Dude, that's classic.
that was my job, like, obviously
Speaking
as a
of
job.
fragrance, dude, when I used to work in the industry in Hollywood and I have to go in that store, I'd walk in and just I think they're running that fragrance through the vents, you know? It's just like go in there and just get knocked on my ass. But that's funny. I used to wonder, like, what's that job like? You got your 8-pack abs and you're just all tan, all waxed, and just sitting at the door at the mall going, "Hey, come on in, ladies."
Dude, it was see, the thing is, though, at the flagship store in the Grove,
Yeah, yeah,
they
that's the
paid
one.
yeah, they had, like, auditions for that. I mean, it was a 4-hour shift, but one of those is a break, and you got so basically 3 hours for 150. I did that, like, 3 or 4 days a week. So it wasn't a bad paying job at the flagship store, but I started off at the Santa Monica store, so I wanna keep it real. I think that was
Have you
yeah.
seen the documentary about that company? There's
I think I started watching
the
it.
super scandalous,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
and you could feel it too when
super trippy,
Jeffries came in.
super trippy. Yeah, yeah. I'll see if we can put that in the show notes. My editors are listening. LukeStory.com/Andy. Yeah, that was. I love documentaries about cults, like any kind of like scandalous shit where an organization becomes corrupted by a charismatic leader gone wrong, the fallen guru syndrome. I love that. For some reason, I love that genre. Maybe because I went to a kind of a cult boarding school when I was a teenager and have been working on recovering from that. But I find it really interesting when there's, especially when it's a huge company like that, and then you find out behind the scenes there's all of this shadiness going on. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. So that was your first one, Robert Frost. Two more.
Tupac Shakur for sure. His passion ever since I was a little kid. I mean, I can remember maybe watching Juice. Um, just his interviews. I've been so fascinated with his interviews and just the passion, how articulate he is, and how smart and intelligent he is, and then just releasing in his music and his timing and just his messaging. Tupac Shakur has been huge, a huge
That one
inspiration for me.
surprised me. That's the first time on the show.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
That's cool.
And let's see, that's my parents. I would say. Just all I know growing up is they're dedicating of their lives to my brother and myself and my sisters, and just really, looking back on that and just how grateful I am to have had a good solid upbringing. So many people, especially in going to rehab and hearing other stories and other whys that led them to use. And so many people don't have people. So many people weren't raised the way I was. I'm so grateful for my parents and the love that they showed me and my brother and my sisters growing up, and just the work ethic of my dad doing his thing, every single day to provide. I just and my mom, her heart and kindness, she's just my everything. And so I just, yeah, I mean, I have so many more everywhere I go, though. You know what I mean? Like I love people, and everybody has a story. I mean, especially if connecting is important to you, you're gonna want to dive in and get to know someone. It it's just so interesting. I mean, I'm inspired by a lot of different people. I take what I want, and I absorb a lot from people, and there are a lot of just amazing people out there that are doing so much daily to provide for their families. So much, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
in my travels, you see that. It's a good reminder of perspective to come back and how good we have it. At the same time, that moment impacted me. So like a number 4 would be just the beautiful people that I'm able to be connected with when I travel, and seeing how they live and how they do things, and just learning from that and incorporating that in my own life. That's been easily the biggest impact
I know
in my
exactly what you mean. Sitting
transformation.
here with people like you every week, man. I'm the most blessed person. There's so many interesting, inspiring people in the world. Yeah, and I'm so grateful myself. I made a career out of talking to them.
Yeah,
At
you
least
did.
part of it. Literally, just sit and talk to cool people sometimes twice a week. Well, sometimes I do a bunch in a week, but they come out every week.
But just big.
Yeah, when
Hold
I
on, I gotta recognize that though, because or give a little shout out to the listeners who haven't uh, been there since the beginning. Man, I remember you getting into this and when it was a want. Look at it now, dude.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
crazy.
you had an amazing business as a stylist, dude. It was actually very impressive to see the courses and just the things you had going on while we
Yeah,
were kind of meeting up. Look at you now, dude. That's just big respect to you, Luke, dude.
thanks, brother.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did it, man, and you're doing it. And you're going to continue to do it.
consistency over time creates success. At least one measure of it. So yeah, now I don't get turned down as often as I did in the beginning trying to get people on my show. I was pretty lucky because I don't know, I just would go for it, just ask people. But there's been so many people like in the beginning just to, I don't know, have a Gabor Mate or just had Rick Rubin on the show, just people that I really admire. And in the beginning, I might have even been too shy to ask them. And then sometimes maybe send an email out and I wouldn't really get a no, but I just wouldn't hear back. And I'd be like, oh shit. And I just keep going and keep going. And now most of the time when I'm interested in talking to someone, they're willing to do it. So it's just from putting in that work
Yeah.
consecutively for a few years. So yeah, yeah, you were one in the beginning and was on my show when I don't know how many downloads I was getting, but very few people were listening in the beginning, the first couple of years, before it really took off. So yeah. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming on back then when I was a little old nobody. Thanks for coming back on now when I'm a little more of a somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you're doing well, man. And thank you again for sharing your path of addiction and getting sober. I'm so happy for you. And it's always nice to see you on Instagram. I'm like, okay, let's check on Andy. What's he saying? It's like, nope, he's making sense. He's solid. He's tan. His eyes are clear. He's happy. I'm like, right on, dude, because many people don't make it. Many
Yeah.
people don't make it. Most people don't make it. Once they cross a certain threshold into that lane, man, it's exceedingly difficult to get out. So congratulations on your surrender and you humbling yourself and just saying, "Man, I need help." That's it. That's the big stumbling block for people is that ego will not reach out for help. It just can't do it.
Mhm.
It's just being humble is not part of the repertoire of the addict ego, you
Right,
know?
right.
It's either, like, defensiveness, right? Like, "Fuck you, I'm fine, everyone else has the problem. If people just leave me alone," you know? Or else it just evades the problem and goes into denial and all that, you know? So, coming to terms with those parts of ourselves is really hard and really scary, so glad you're able to do it, man.
Thank you.
And I wish you a
Thank you.
long, prosperous life of however sobriety ends up looking for you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was definitely something that I had to go through. Just looking back, it was for me,
Yeah, yeah,
getting down on my knees in Egypt and praying for it, even though it was an absolute nightmare.
yeah,
I mean, just to think, and then
yeah,
exactly a year later, um, man, I would do it all again just to feel how I feel now and to know what it's like on the other side without any type of temptation or urge to. It's been removed, seriously,
yeah.
has been removed. I mean, that's unbelievable to all my friends, your party buddies. It's got to be amazing to them. But I can't wait to be that, just
Right.
it's just who I am
Yeah,
now,
brother.
and I'll continue to put in the work. It's because it's important to me and it's just better on this side for me.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thanks for coming
Thank you.
by. It's great to see you again.
It's great to see you too.